Because that's going to be
All right, good morning. Thanks for joining us. We'll buzz through here. Got a few informational stuff kind of in the back of the packet, things that have kind of been driving the markets this week. Ernie was just making the comment how we've been up and down, and that is a fair assessment of things. Cash price on page 2. We're sure trying to get a 6 in front of there. I mean, we've been kind of been holding on. We had a couple of exporters that are competing for bushels, and as the futures continued to push back down below that 620 mark, they were able to keep those basis numbers that we've been looking at around that 80-cent number. So as the futures went down, we've seen our cash price going down. Export sales report, we're starting to see finally a little bit of new crop sales in there. The old crop, that goose has been cooked for the last month or so. You're not going to see anything go on there because the end of the marketing year is coming up here at the end of this month. So realistically, for it to be a sale for this marketing year, you couldn't have the turnaround that quick to put a sale on and get it booked there. So most everything we've seen has been on the new crop side, which those have been pretty thin as well. Just not a whole heck of a lot moving. Numbers we did see for this last week, 12.4 million bushels on all classes of wheat for new crop. It's a start. I guess I'll just say that. White wheat at 2.5, typically to get up towards that 200 million bushels a year, we've got to see that average somewhere. Figure a 52-week average, you got to be up there close to 4 to hit that. So it's doable. I haven't seen any projections obviously for this new year, but if we look at white wheat in the packet, page 10, the stats for the year, you'll see that we are sitting at 172 million bushels for the marketing year. Like I said, that number's not going to probably change really at all. USDA had us pegged at 200. We've talked at length the past couple months every time they've increased that, where the heck they're going to get it from. But so it'll show you that we're gonna not hit that number. We do take a look at some of the new crop sales or sales for this last week. Vietnam looks like it was a switch from old crop to new crop. There's not a whole lot else going on there. I don't know where they get that 2.5 million bushel number with the data that's presented there. But okay, what the heck's happened this week? What's going on with prices up and down all around? You had all eyes looking at the Black Sea shipping corridor deal. Russia's going to say they aren't going to extend it, and then lo and behold, what happens? The market goes up, and then Russia comes in and says, "Oh, just kidding. We'll continue to negotiate." So we did get a 60-day extension on that. That happened, I think, May 17th. You could almost tell exactly when the news broke just watching the futures board, because we were kind of rallying up, and then it just completely, or at least holding steady, and then completely fell off that morning. So that's been quote unquote bearish news on the futures, pushing things down. The other thing we had going on was the Kansas Wheat Tour. I think a lot of people felt that was going to be, a market driver pushing it up. I don't know. Most people in the industry knew how bad it's been in Kansas. It's not like it was a revelation that everybody thought things were fine there, and then all of a sudden this tour was going to derail that thought. So there's been all kinds of, I don't know if you call it controversy, but questioning of some of the methods, some of the charts that they use on determining their yield projections, because it's not necessarily, just scientists that are out there doing this. It's people that I think that you go, and I've seen pictures, you meet in a hotel conference room and they kind of give you the map, and the stuff and here's how you do it. And they go out and they come up with these predictions, and they're not necessarily people that do that every day, but there's some depending on early season versus late season and the chart, some discrepancies, I guess, on yield estimates. So they think possibly it's a little high. Big Brother at CHS caught some flack on Twitter. One of the first days of the tour, they were out there and they posted a picture of, we'll just say, a cereal crop that was headed out. And they were talking about how they were getting rain and moisture on that day. Well, it wasn't a wheat plant they were looking at, it was feral rye. So I think they caught a little bit of backlash on there. That kind of right there tells me that maybe some of the data collection on the tour isn't necessarily done by experts if they're posting pictures like that. But
close did they come historically
to
throughout the years? How close did they come to the actual yield?
that would be something interesting to check out. Maybe we'll get our broker on that, see if he can screw that up. But
I'm worried about the debit.
yeah, can't imagine the typos that'd show up in there. But I put a deal in there. I mean, the big news was the abandoned fields. And the wheat tour, the way I understand it, is it's only predicting yield on fields that'll actually be harvested. So those abandoned fields aren't throwing a zero into their calculation. It's only stuff that at this point that they intend to actually harvest. You can see the number came in, I believe it is at, was it 30 bushel per acre on the state average? Obviously the northern and eastern part of the state was better, 44 bushel per acre. But still, awful last year, which was a down year for them as well. So then that also fuels into another story on page 20. Talked about with the high price of hard red right now, the possibility of actually importing in milling wheat to the US. And this actually goes through the values and shows you that it is kind of an out there thought, but at least it puts some economic nuts and bolts to it that you can look at it and say, yeah, that's true. But yeah, we're not going to say that there's not a shortage of hard red here locally in the US, but it's one of those deals that if you can make a blend with other wheat, these mills, they're not going to pay more just to pay more for it. I mean, if they're going to be figuring out ways to get it cheaper, and if it means shipping it in from somewhere else, I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't end up happening. I mean, from Mexico, even we've seen them bring in wheat from elsewhere just because it was cheaper to bring it from Europe than it is to run it down a rail line across the border with the rail freight the way it is sometimes. So I guess that's the bearish news of the day. Jeff, you got any bullish news for the market?
Well, there's the charts that Arnie sent us yesterday about the stocks to use ratio of wheat and rice combined. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I didn't dive into them. There's a chart that's circulating around, and it has to do with the stocks to use of wheat and rice combined this year. And I believe it focused on excluding China's reported stocks from those and where the world would be at in that position. It wouldn't really take that many production slip ups elsewhere in the world, I think, to really see that. European crop at this point, I haven't heard any issues with it. They were looking at above average probably. So that takes out that. You're going to continue to have the Black Sea situation, and Australia, it's still too early to start hearing any numbers out of there. So not saying it's not possible with, what are we going into, El Nino now, that usually causes havoc on Australians' production. So with that shift, people are not expecting another record year in Australia coming up, or you wouldn't anticipate it due to the weather conditions. So where new crop wheat starts trading at, as far as Portland cash wise here, it could be tough. I still still think that, you know, we're not going to be as high as last year during harvest as we were as a whole, but there might be some of those pricing opportunities just for the fact that if we're a little bit later on harvest, you know, we saw pretty poor export sales the last few weeks. So if some of these buyers are trying to buy new crop towards the front part of harvest, there might not be a whole lot of bushels being turned loose that are available to sell, to ship. Especially when you start looking at the, I mentioned last time, the potential insurance payouts that guys could be getting here, and nobody's going to want cash right at harvest or, you know, in that year. Obviously you can sell it, defer the payment, if it's a price favorable on your cash sale side, but there could be some tax planning issues at harvest. So I don't know. We'll see what kind of magic Jeff's got for getting title for shipping barges during harvest. Hopefully we got enough wheat. We got to worry about some space some places. So that's the hopefully. Mr. Reedner, you got anything you want to chime in on? Some world values?
Good morning, guys. Justin pretty much hit everything on the head. Right now, the biggest thing is best cure for high prices is high prices, and we're still suffering from last year's prices. The big phenomena, like Justin was alluding to, is that buyers got bit in a bearish market. You know, they always get bit. They're carrying inventory that's worth more than what the market is. So everybody's gone hand to mouth, and right now the whole world's doing it. Buyers are pretty much hand to mouth, and business is really, really slow. He also hit it on the head that, you know, winter wheat did reach a top there. I think that we've had enough domestic and international demand deterioration with U.S. hard-red winter wheat that there actually is some European wheat being brought in FOB into the U.S. And I think that's probably going to put a cap on it. You only have to go so high till you kill demand, and that's kind of where we're at right now. From a carryout standpoint, Jeff and Justin were actually right. You know, we're going to have the carryout in exporting countries as low as it's been since 2008, right in that ballpark. The interesting part about it is that, you know, I was looking at the statistics here, and before the war, the Russians were about 23% of world trade. And of this year, if they do 45 million tons, they're going to be about 29.5% of world trade. So we're kind of getting skewed over to maybe some unreliable suppliers. That's where the market is right now. There's lots of wheat around, but they're not sure where the risk is. So we'll be in for a wild ride. That's all I got.
Thanks, Pedro. Mr. Powell, you got anything for us?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry I wasn't able to go to Morrow this morning, dealing with a sick cat that's going to get a trip to the vet here soon. So doing well there. So updates with OXU extension. Just the biggest thing for cereal growers is just be aware that they are saying that they found stripe rust at both in Corvallis and also in Pendleton. And again, that was on kind of some susceptible varieties that are in their pathology plots. So they would expect to see rust eventually in some of those, but just when they find those, it's a good thing to realize that if you are growing Magic, definitely keep an eye on stripe rust. It might be showing up in your fields. Earlier is better than later, always to treat that. Also, some of the newer coaxium varieties, people are a little concerned that some of those might have some susceptibility as well, just because we haven't grown those as much as in the past. So just keep that in mind with coaxium too. Keep an eye on it for rust for sure. Other updates are going on. Again, it's just that type of year that getting everything kind of finalized for crop tours. So again, the crop tour in Sherman County is going to be in Morrow. Excuse me. The crop tour in Sherman County is going to start at the Wasco School Event Center on June 1st. So Thursday, June 1st, starting at 8:30, we'll start at the Wasco School Event Center there. And then we'll start the tour there and conclude around noon, 12:30 back at the Wasco School Event Center for lunch after that. The Wasco County Crop Tour is going to be exactly a week later on Thursday, June 8th. That's going to start out the OSU wheat variety trials. They're out this year. They're right next to the Dufur Community Cemetery. So people are just going to park there. And the plan there is that we will conclude around noon back at JTI in the Dalles for lunch there following. Also have the experiment station days coming up. The one in Sherman County is going to be on June 14th on a Wednesday, starting at 7:30 at the Sherman County Fairgrounds. And that should conclude around noon as well. Anybody on the liaison committee for the station there, we will meet following that tour at around 1 o'clock back at the extension office in Sherman County there. So again, if people are interested in coming to these crop tours, in that newsletter, I've got a link, or just give me a phone call to RSVP. We just need a head count for food. It really does help when we get those. So, but yeah, other than that, just wishing and hoping for cooler and weather next week, and maybe some precipitation would definitely help things out with where we're at now. So, Justin, that's kind of all I got. Unless anybody else has any other questions.
How were the growing degree days? Are they catching up?
Ernie's question, Jacob, is on the growing degree days, if we're catching up on those.
Yeah, so Ernie, we are. I mean, we were at some point we were still hanging out like 400 growing degree days behind last year. Due to when they had updated the weather stations, I've got information just up till May 9th, and that was kind of when the heat wave started. And so then we were still 200 days behind. I would say at this point we're caught up, if not slightly ahead of last year at this point. So we definitely are caught up now. Which I don't know what it's better to catch up now than later in the summer. At least a lot of the wheat hasn't headed out yet. So really when it starts heading out, that's when we really don't want it to get above 95. So at least at this point, it could be worse, but definitely could use some cooler weather as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Jacob. If you want to send me over a quick email, Jacob, with like the RSVP number and the dates for those crop tours, I can put them on the comments that go out with the bids so people see them every day and get reminded of them.
That'd be awesome, Justin. I'll do that right now. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, I guess we'll go to work. So we'll see everybody in a couple weeks. It looks like June 2nd is our next scheduled meeting. So see you then.